Scientology so afraid of.
This is SPTV.
Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Serge Del Mar, and I would really like to thank everyone who has been joining us on this journey, really contextualizing and revising all the different aspects of our stories that have been left out by the corporate media for God knows what reason. So we want to give a voice to those who have been silenced, especially those kids that are stuck inside those hotels. So I am very, very hopeful, and I am very, very thankful to have your support, because our hope is that things will change for those kids that are currently stuck one of these days. The more we demand change, the more the change is gonna happen, right? If people are not demanding the change, then the change doesn't happen, especially when we are up against the type of corruption that we've been discussing here. So all our videos come with a trigger warning, because we are getting into the weeds of what the hell happens in those hotels. And as a result, you guys, this content has to be triggered warned. Your support is crucial in fostering and raising the general public's awareness. If you resonate with our cause, please share our content. Please comment your questions. We're here to educate. We're here to expand on the confusing aspects of the story that have been purposely made confusing, because that's how corruption works. It all becomes very confusing, so everyone runs around pretending that they can't figure anything out. So since our mission is to stomp out the corruption that we saw firsthand take place, the most important thing that we need to do as well is to continue to raise our voices, our collective voices, and make a change for those who need our help. That being said, you guys, I'm so happy to report to you that we've been having incredible results connecting with a ton of under the radar second, third, fourth, and fifth generations that have been coming out the woodwork, mostly DMing me on Instagram. And you guys can also follow me on Instagram if you want to see me dance more. My Instagram has a lot more of my videos of dancing and things like that. But I also usually can respond to DMs there. And also anybody that is under the radar, if you want to connect with me, if you want to send me your story, if you want to speak to somebody, my email is sergedelmar@proton.me. And that line is open for anybody who's under the radar, specifically kids and second generations. And, you know, shout out to any parents of those kids. If you got receipts, if you want to come forward and help us with the problem of the kids stuck at the hotel, we welcome all the help from anybody. So just wanted to make sure that that was out there. With that being said, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can stay informed as we continue to advocate for justice and stand against exploitation, senseless exploitation. Thank you for being part of this very important journey. Let's stand united for the voiceless and work towards a brighter future where there's no more kids in Scientology. All right, guys, now time to get into the meat of our story today. And since I just ran into that response that we reacted to John Travolta putting out those statements that haven't aged very well for him, the film Going Clear, the HBO documentary, kind of popped back up on my radar. And I saw this interview from Anderson Cooper, CNN 360, that he did an interview with Lawrence Wright.
Well, swift and furious, that's a fair way to describe the Church of Scientology's response to a new book by author Lawrence Wright. It's called Going Clear, Scientology, Hollywood, and the Prison of Belief. As the title suggests, it focuses on Scientology's founder and its interest in recruiting celebrities. It also explores allegations of abuse. It's already in its second printing. This isn't, of course, the first time an author or journalist or former Scientologist has turned a lens on the church. It's also not the first time Scientology has tried to discredit the result and threaten legal action. We ourselves have felt those tactics firsthand when we've reported on Scientology. In a moment, you'll hear from Lawrence Wright, the author of Going Clear. But first, here's some background on how we got here.
Well, shout out to you, Anderson Cooper. Shout out to Anderson Cooper, you guys, that just told us that isn't it hard to be a CNN journalist? Isn't it so hard? And aren't they so annoyed by all the tactics that they've been the victims of? That CNN, that they that are in this news business, that they that cover all manner of things. But you know, I've watched Anderson Cooper, and you guys let me know in the comments if you see Anderson Cooper usually contextualizing his subjects with how much threats and strategies he's been at the receiving end. And just another little anecdote about Anderson Cooper, since he just said to put the background here. Fun fact, you guys. Here it is. When this whole thing came out with Going Clear and it was a big problem, and you know, I told you guys how I got caught at ArcLight going to watch the film, and OSA reported me and they were trying to get me to come in to get interrogated. Well, fun fact, that was the time that I was leaving Scientology already. And I was at Equinox working out in the West Hollywood Equinox. And guess, to my surprise, who walks in, you guys? Bingo. The man you see right here on the screen. And I had a little interaction with Mr. Cooper there at Equinox because he had just come out with this interview. He had just come out interviewing Lawrence Wright. And I went up to him. We were both in the stretch area, and he kept looking at me because you knew I do the splits and all. So because he kept looking over at me, I said, hi. And he said, hi. And then I went over to tell him, thank you for doing all that coverage about Scientology. I was a child who grew up in that cult, and I really appreciated that you took it on and discussed it. And I wish I would have had a camera to share with you guys the reaction of Cooper when he heard the word Scientology, because his literal whole entire face just changed as if he had seen Satan himself. I mean, he was talking to an SP, so it could have been that got him scared. I wouldn't know. But all I know is that this man that speaks with so much rah, rah, rah here didn't have the same rah, rah, rah in real time. So sorry, Anderson. I'm sure you remember me. But let's go on and see what else he says.
The Church of Scientology was founded by a science fiction writer named L Ron Hubbard in 1954. Its stated goals to help people, quote, live in a civilization without insanity, without criminals, and without war, where the able can prosper and honest beings can have rights.
Okay, you guys, and let's just stop and react real quick to just that, because again, the media, the corporate media, pitches and constantly launders the image of these people. And why do I say that? Because with both sides of their mouth, the media goes and puts all these platitudes that Scientology purports to be about. And since they don't want to do due diligence to actually understand what's behind the platitudes, right? Like, oh, yes, we want to make people sane. How are you going to make people sane if you're going to abuse them? How are you about doing anything good for the overall planet if you're going to be in the business of industrial scale child abuse through hotel chains? So just those two little simple tiny facts, you guys, like Anderson Cooper didn't bother to study who L Ron Hubbard is. And I'm going to ask the media to GTS, because to my surprise, when I did that, I was able to find out in literally L Ron Hubbard's Wikipedia. You guys, the first thing you find out about that man is that he's an indicted felon. So I would like to offer all of you guys a full-blown retraction, because I've been calling L Ron Hubbard an unindicted felon. Turns out he was unindicted in the United States. Because remember how he had his entire posse of adult degenerate proteges, including his own wife, Mary Sue Hubbard, who was all in on the criminal conspiracy to go and infiltrate the DOJ, to go infiltrate the IRS, to go infiltrate all manner of government buildings, right? So yet again, like, America didn't indict L Ron Hubbard. They decided, you know what, let's keep him unindicted, since Mary Sue over here is telling us that, you know, she figured it all out. She was the brains of the operation. And L Ron Hubbard was sailing a ship, or God knows doing what, right? So L Ron Hubbard didn't get indicted. So I was calling him unindicted because the United States of America, the DOJ, who had everything on that man to indict him, decided, you know what, let's not indict him. You know, just the wife said that she did it. Let's just get her and this few others here. And, you know, let's wait for another pitch and see if they reform. And that is exactly what took place, you guys. Mary Sue took the fall. These people went to federal prison. They all got indicted. They all got criminal sentences. But don't you worry. L Ron Hubbard didn't. But you know where L Ron Hubbard did get indicted? In France. Shout out to you, France. And L Ron Hubbard has 2 indictments in France for petty theft, which happened like in the late 50s or so. I don't remember. But he had another indictment. And his second indictment, you guys, was for fraud. And L Ron Hubbard was given a 4-year prison sentence in France for being involved in fraud. And yeah, L Ron Hubbard was on the run. So it turns out that he is literally an indicted felon on the run. So, as much as Mr. Cooper can talk from both sides of his mouth, pitch him as this science fiction writer, never mind he was an indicted felon, let's just say he's a science fiction writer. That way we can water everything down and legal will be, sipping their little coffee, reviewing the little notes and saying, this is so well balanced. You really need to get this entire segment out because we need more revenue dollars. And that's what CNN apparently pays these legal departments to do, to cover their ass everywhere they go, no matter what. So yeah, shout out to you, legal department at CNN, that is also not doing their job. But don't worry about it. We are going to do your job. We are happy to do it.
Members pay to take courses designed to help them work through issues from their past and reach a higher state of consciousness.
I mean, you guys, did you just hear what he said? He was literally pitching courses to reach a higher state of consciousness. And you guys, feel free to send this journalist Cooper my videos, because he missed out on the opportunity to pull the string when he had me right there at Equinox by going into his little state of shock. He ran away real quick. But then, subsequently, how many years later, he still doesn't even have a shred of a clue of the story. But he did take it upon himself again to speak on a subject that he has no idea about. And that's why he's parroting it out, these platitudes and talking points that mean nothing. Remember about Scientology courtrooms. See, Anderson, courtrooms is where all the grooming happens. So if the grooming happens in the courtrooms, those are grooming salons. I would know. I was a supervisor of those grooming salons, so I know those courtrooms real well. I got over a decade of experience running around that specific aspect of this hotel. So I am an expert. I'll tell you that much. So why would I call them grooming salons? That's a very good question that you never thought of asking, Cooper. The reason that I'm calling them that is because in those grooming salons, L Ron Hubbard, the science fiction writer you pitched that wanted to save the world and wanted to raise people's consciousness, also decided to grab dolls in these grooming salons so that the role play that was going to take place inside his hotel rooms could be very well groomed. And, I'm sure you can GTS and say, what are the preferred methods of grooming for what to kids, for example? Are dolls ever used to groom kids? GTS that real quick and just see what comes up. Because if you actually GTS, you'll find out that it comes up with all sorts of references of how dolls are used to break the boundaries between the adult and the child. Because, it looks so innocent, right? And in those grooming salons, Anderson, we were being told to drill with a doll. And our coaches, which included but was not limited to full-grown adults, men and women, both. They just thought nothing of going and sitting in front of a doll, because they would grab the doll here, they would put it in front of them, okay? And then the child's across from them, okay? And then they have one of these questionnaires that we've been talking about, the 2D FBRD, which I will link in the description down below. So you can take a look at it, and you don't even have to GTS that one. I will put it there. So then we were there with the doll, and then they're like, okay, what is the drill that, okay, so in the FPRD says, have you ever had sex with animals? So let's just drill it with this doll, you and I. And there you were with an adult that was qualified to drill you with that doll and was qualified to simulate. They called it scenarios. Drill this scenario. Drill this other scenario. We were always being told that these were scenarios we had to drill because, you don't know what happens in those hotel rooms. I mean, once you lock yourself up there, it could go in a lot of different directions. Okay. So I hope you're tracking so that we can really contextualize what you're calling here. Something about, what was it? Raising your awareness is what you were saying. So since we weren't really raising the awareness of the kids, I mean, perhaps the adults were in fact becoming more and more aware. The more they did it, the more they grabbed the dolls, the more they all were in on the thing of like, doesn't matter. These kids are just all adults like us. So maybe you want to pitch that as awareness. Okay. Go check with your legal department and see if full-grown adult and men and women who literally have the question, have you ever had sex with animals, drilled with a literal child inside one of those grooming salons. Just check if that brings awareness to adults, because maybe CNN also thinks that that actually does bring awareness to adults, and it's a very religious experience. Because again, why are you pitching courses if you're supposed to be talking about a religion? Shout out to all religions out there. If y'all want to send a little letter to us and say, oh yeah, Serge, we also do courses for our people, and we have dolls that we can, grab kids and do all manner of things just like y'all. So then we'll be glad to get that note. We're open to the notes. We're open to the feedback from everybody.
To understand what's holding them back, church members are tested with a device called an e-meter that's used to monitor their feelings and reactions.
Imagine that, you guys. Like, you're going to be this glib reporter that is just going to parrot whatever it is that you were told this machine was being used for in the context of children. Because again, Anderson, since I told you that I was a child that grew up in that cult, and that I felt that the kids' issues had not received a lot of attention from the press. Now remember, what made you turn white? That was a line that literally had you like running to the bathroom faster than I could even catch you. I'm like, where did he go? So yeah, so here you are telling us how these machines were used to figure out something about our emotions. Let's see what else you say.
L Ron Hubbard died in 1986, and since then, this man, David Miscavige, has been the leader. He, like Hubbard before him, oversees a religious order inside the church.
So, I'm sorry, you guys, like, I gotta give you the full picture. I'm sorry, but here you go. CNN, shout out to you. You're telling me the man that is literally dressed here, as we can all see, the man that we can all see here, literally dressed in a fake military uniform, is role-playing being a captain. Look how many bars are in his sleeves, and all those fake flags he's got stuck to him, because those were told that you get every time you complete a mission. Well, look how many missions this man completed, you guys. So yeah, like, it'd be great for us to know what other religious activities include dressing yourself up as a military army officer while you role play extreme scenarios inside a hotel. If any other religion does that, we would love to hear from you. It would be great to get that on the public record too, because maybe you're doing it hiding, but these people didn't do it hiding. These people literally showed, they walked around the hotel dressed exactly like you see here. You guys, this isn't hyperbole. This isn't just like, oh, it was so crazy. You can't, the kids that went through this experience, you guys, we don't have to tell you that everything was more crazy than it already was. Like, you wouldn't even understand how crazy it was just like that. You can't even exaggerate anything, although I think people think that we do, because it's also deranged and unfounded and despicable. But, you know, the reality is the reality. These people chose what they were doing.
Church, an order that's responsible for church management.
I mean, just look at all of those adults, you guys. And there you go. The face of all the collective of adults, the creme of la creme, they told themselves they were. Every last adult you see here is responsible personally from having juniors. That's what they're calling their slaves. That's one thing Monique did do right. She told them, you cannot call them slaves. You got to call them something else. Okay, senior, junior. Oh, yeah, that sounds great. Let's put that on the books. Let's just, nobody will question anything. If any police ever comes around and finds out why is this 13-year-old girl calling this 45-year-old man sir, and why is this man that's not related to this 13-year-old girl whatsoever calling her, oh, you're my junior. It'd be great to know that. It'd be really, really great to know that, actually.
Called the Sea Organization. Members of Sea Org sometimes wear naval-style uniforms. They dedicate their lives to the church, signing billion-year contracts, promising to remain in the church for many reincarnated lives to come. The Church of Scientology says it's opened some 170 churches around the globe and claims 10 million members worldwide, 6 million in the U.S. In 2009, then church spokesman Tommy Davis put it this way.
Dave Miscavige is responsible for the current renaissance that the church is experiencing. And the fact is the church has doubled in size in the last 5 years.
Well, hello, Tommy Davis. You guys, these people spouting lies about their numbers, spouting lies about how they treat minors, have they've actually put anything that is not a lie on the record? I think that's actually a better question to start asking these people. Like, what are you not lying about? Since y'all are just, every time they open their mouth is just to lie. So the question should be reversed for people like you, Tommy Davis. What are you not lying about? Because if every time you open your mouth is just to lie about things that can be pathetically debunked in just a simple GTS, yo, Google, how many people are in this thing? Talk about 6 million. Please, nobody would qualify to enter that hotel. Because as much as this man here and Debbie Cook and Marty Rathbun and, Jenny DeVocht and Sue Gentry-Pichet and Heather Hoff and Yvonne Kellerhouse and Sean Carino Smith and Janet Herring and Dusty Rhodes and Victoria Orlando and Christina Kempner, all of those that I just mentioned, you guys, were executives or some sort of whatever's in that hotel. So it'd be nice for them to, contextualize the lies that Tommy here is spewing, and also contextualize why wouldn't it be possible to reach 6 million members if they cannot pass an A to J check? And I'm not going to explain what that means because people like Tommy, Debbie, and all the women I just mentioned would know exactly what I'm talking about. And for all of you guys that are watching, we will do a whole full video on what an A to J check is. But these people know exactly what it is and exactly how their numbers are unreachable, because Scientology is more about crisis managing so people don't get in, and less about open doors, anyone can come in, we're wanting to reach 6 million soon. That is just a pathetic lie that has no merit whatsoever, Tommy.
And has flourished under his leadership.
The American Religious Identification Survey, however, cites much lower numbers. According to its survey, the number of self-described practicing Scientologists in the U.S. actually dropped from 55,000 to 25,000 in the years between 2001 and 2008. The church is a famously vocal critic of psychiatry, opposing what it calls brutal and inhumane psychiatric treatments.
Well, thank you, Anderson, for pitching yet again those false talking points that are just projections from literally L Ron Hubbard and his proteges, talking about pointing the finger at psychiatry doing horrific things, when all these people have to do, Anderson, is look at what they were doing themselves on a daily basis. Look at what they're doing to just the minors. Forget about everyone else. If you're 21 and up, don't even think about that. Like literally just block that entire thing in your head. Just, okay, adults 21 and up, blind. 21 and under, what are you doing to them? What exactly are you doing to those minors? And then take a look and see if the things that you're projecting psychiatry does could be very, very close to what you've actually been getting away with for the last 73 years. So that would be a good question for y'all to all ask yourselves. OSA, MAAs, which are the ethics officers, sec checkers, RTC people, captains of whatever hotel you're in, all of y'all need to ask yourself that question next time you want to project about psychiatry and your misinformed talking points that have nothing to do with the facts and have everything to do with deflection to pretend and purport that you're so much better than what? That's what we need to know. So much better than what?
But for most, this is how the public identifies with Scientology, through high-profile believers. The church reaches out to well-known performers and caters to their needs with a celebrity center in Hollywood.
Thank you, Anderson. Caters to their needs. Let's give the press credit when is due, you guys. Because shout out to actually having one talking point. We're only 2 minutes and 35 seconds into this segment, and this is the first talking point that the media gets right. So, okay, media, let's put the score. One goal that you scored over all these other things that you haven't done anything.
Kirstie Alley, John Travolta are longtime Scientologists, as is Tom Cruise.
And yet again, that same old pitch, you guys, just in case anybody forgot, we're doing this segment not because we want to talk about these people and clickbait you into finding out what the hell is this about, right? Because that's the problem with the whole celebrity talking point, you guys. It's a double-edged sword. Yes, they have the celebrities and they always get talked about, but now you have everyone's eyeballs and attention on you. There's plenty of cults out there, you guys, that, I've been hearing about that I had no even idea that existed. So this idea of cults, as much as Scientologists purport that theirs is the worst and the biggest and the blah, and the only reason these people have anything in terms of numbers compared to every other last cult out there is because of the type of press that has been granted. They've been made a pop culture thing. They've been popularized by these segments because of their celebrities. And again, the mainstream media, incapable of investigating their way out of a paper bag, cannot connect for one reason or another how it is that there are hotels filled and staffed by minors, that there are floating cathedrals, aka slave ships, floating around the Bahamas. It's like, yeah, they don't have Jeffrey Epstein's island, but who needs an island when you can just have a floating ship floating around, right? It's definitely way more controlled, that little environment that you get at that free wind screw. So any way you look at it, the only reason that these people really cover this is to keep pitching these three actors that are part of this thing that we've been told ad nauseum. So thank you for yet again pitching us the same old thing.
Being a Scientologist, when you drive past an accident, it's not like anyone else. As you drive past, you know you have to do something about it because you know you're the only one that can really help.
Well, thank you, Tom. And what about when you walk by what is only can be described as a complete and utter abominable, reckless abomination, such as an adult and a child locked up in a hotel? What do you do to help then? It'd be nice for your publicist to type a little statement and ask you how you react when you see an underage kid being brought through a hallway to be locked up in one of those hotel rooms. So once you come up with that little answer, put up another video or talk to your publicist and write up what it is that you do. Since you say that you're the only one who can help, well, you know what? I've yet to hear of a single child you've ever helped inside any of those hotels. So let's start with that fact right there.
Cruz is so close to church leader David Miscavige, he asked him to be his best man at his wedding. Here's Cruz praising David Miscavige at a Scientology event in 2007.
So I say to you, Sir COB, we are lucky to have you, and thank you very much.
In 2010, we met with many former Sea Org members, including Tom Cruise's former counselor, or auditor in Scientology parlance, who says everything is not as it seems within the church leadership.
Imagine being Tom Cruise's counselor a la Marty Rathbun, and all you have to purport that you're a counselor is a 2-week course you completed at a hotel. I mean, Marty Rathbun could not be more pathetic if he tried, you guys, because the media is going and, oh, so you're the one that was counseling Tom Cruise. And what are your certificates to counsel Tom Cruise? Oh, a 2-week course. Oh, nice. Oh, yeah. They are priding themselves in Scientology. They can teach you how to do all sorts of things in 2 weeks. You guys, 1, 2. So, yeah.
So long, baby. Marty Rathbun, who used to work directly under David Miscavige, says there's been a culture of violence within the leadership of the church, a culture encouraged by Miscavige himself.
Well, shout out to you, Marty Rathbun, because the culture of violence that you were perpetrating on all the minors that you were interrogating at the Flag Land base when you came out from your little vacation at the Free Winds, where you went to get your training at that floating cathedral so you could get your fangs on Tom Cruise and anyone else that you could, any other last child that you could purport to have spotted as being out ethics. So thank you for projecting yet again this complete tired talking point of how David, they cannot get the name David out of their mouth, you guys. These people literally cannot help themselves. David is every other sentence they utter. So thank you for trying to get off your overts of somebody else, Marty Rathbun. But You had your very own similar overs of your own. And in fact, you have worse, because David didn't audit kids. But you know who did audit kids? You, Marty Rathbun. And I wasn't the only kid that you audited, isn't it? You want me to remind you of the little girls that you were also into interrogating? We're going to skip that in this video, you guys, but let's just leave that there as a footnote. So we really contextualize this great counselor that the media can't stop pitching as a great counselor. Never mind that it's a man who only completed a 2-week course at a hotel, which are the facts.
He treats his subordinates in all of international management like slaves in a slave camp.
Oh, really, Marty? All of his subordinates at international management? Like, what the hell? You're a church, but you have management. You're a church, but you have courses. You're a church, but you have subordinates. You're a church, but you complete a 2-week course and you are allowed to rampantly run around the hotel and stick your fangs on whichever minor of your choosing, Marty. So the way that you project is rich, but guess what? You're getting called out.
And literally beats them down.
It's a claim the church vigorously denies. They say Rathbun is a liar and out to destroy the church.
Well, thank you, whoever wrote that statement from the Church of Scientology's attorney's office, because we could not agree with you anymore. Marty is a full-blown, pathological, self-serving, narcissistic AF liar. There. Now we have it on the public record, Marty. It only's taken how many years?
The church spokesman in 2009, Tommy Davis, says yes, there was violence in the church, but he blames Marty Rathbun for it, as well as some others now making allegations against David Miscavige.
The allegations are absolutely untrue. There was nothing of the sort as they're describing by Mr. Miscavige.
David Miscavige has never kicked somebody,
absolutely
never
not.
punched somebody,
absolutely not.
never strangled somebody.
No, never.
So, again, what the hell is going on with a church that has allegations of strangling and beating and being completely deranged and crazy? Just ask yourself in the mirror next time you want to utter the word church, Anderson.
Never. Absolutely not.
As CNN was preparing our 2010 report, the church provided us with large stacks of affidavits from current and former church members.
There you go with the affidavits, and see how easy it is to shut up the press, you guys. Apparently, all you got to do is write up a bunch of BS on pieces of paper, declaring under perjury that this is true, when they know darn well that the press is so lazy they could not be bothered to seek any sort of indictment or consequence or penalty from actually putting things in affidavits that are full, bold-faced lies. So this little practice of the affidavits, swarm them with affidavits that are all full of BS, because you know we won't get any pushback, and that's going to be the end of our crisis management. That's how this thing works, in case nobody has noticed, even though it's been pitched, it's been documented, it's been shown to you. Every last segment we are going through here, I feel like I'm just now starting to repeat myself over and over, because it's all the same BS, different air freshener.
One-time colleagues of these former Scientologists, even ex-wives who remain in the leadership of the church. Some interviewed with us to defend the church, saying that their former husbands and co-workers are liars.
I never saw one scratch. I never saw one bruise. I never saw one black eye. Nothing. Nor did he complain about anything personally.
Now, Pulitzer Prize winning.
Well, shout out to you, Jenny the Vogt. You would have been probably ranking at the top 3 most depraved, insane, ridiculous, egocentric, power tripping women from hell that hotel had in its books. And yet again, you guys, just so you know, if you weren't like Jenny, that depraved, if you weren't like Jenny, that crazy and unhinged and willing to just humiliate and destroy any last minor that crossed her path, she was not going to get that high position in the org board, you know? So just so you start connecting the dots, the higher they go, the crazier they are. You cannot get to the pyramid here if you're not at the level of crazy that that woman is demonstrating. And she's right now really holding back. Trust me, she's holding so back. She's not used to talking like this, and you can tell from her eyes that are literally popping out of her head.
Author Lawrence Wright has written a book titled Going Clear, Scientology, Hollywood, and the Prison of Belief. He details the church's creation by its founder, L Ron Hubbard, and explores these allegations of abuse, allegations the church continues to strongly deny. And they've created a website to refute the book chapter by chapter. Well, we're making the Church of Scientology's responses available in full at CNN.com. To find it, put the word Scientology in the search field in the upper right-hand corner. Going Clear is based on...
Shout out to you, Anderson, for making our point for the 10th billionth time about how, oh yeah, Google, go to CNN, go check it out, go put eyeballs there so that our advertisers are happy with us. You see how that works, you guys? It's so tricky. Oh yeah, get the news. The news is just them cash grabbing your information, sending you to their website so you could be checking this and checking that, but there's nothing really to check because they're not doing their job, right?
Extensive interviews with former and current church members. Lawrence Wright talked to hundreds of people. I spoke to him earlier. So why did you decide to write about Scientology?
I've always been interested in why people believe one thing rather than another, especially in this country where you can believe anything you want. That's not true in a lot of places in the world, but we have this supermarket of religious beliefs.
Well, shout out to you, Lawrence Wright. Thank you for telling us that in America, you have a supermarket of religious beliefs and you can believe whatever the hell you want. And in the interest of contextualizing that statement that we both just made, you and I, Lawrence, but I'm no Pulitzer Prize winner, I'll tell you that much. I'm just a nothing. I didn't even finish high school, believe it or not. So here you go. This is to contextualize what this Pulitzer Prize winning author that is examining the controversial religion wants to talk about. Because in the very first book, you perhaps were also like confused by the New York Times label. Maybe you thought it was legit because it did say New York Times bestseller on it. But let's read you this little quote here, and then let's have you self-reflect on that statement that you just made. The first axiom of interest to the auditor in his work, because he can clearly establish whether or not he's confronting a rational reaction. The 7-year-old girl who shudders because a man kisses her is not computing. She's reacting to an engram since at 7, she should see nothing wrong in a kiss, not even a passionate one. There must have been an earlier experience, possibly prenatal, which made men or kissing very bad. So since you just told us that in America, we're in a supermarket of religious beliefs where you can just about believe any old thing that you want, and you're so interested in why adults can just be dissuaded and think of the craziest things and make that their thing, please write me an email and tell me why it is that we have this supermarket going on in America. And why does that supermarket supersede every last toothless law that is in the books that is supposed to protect people from just believing whatever the hell thing they want? Because beliefs usually lead to action and behavior, right? Like beliefs control how you are acting. So if these collective of adults decided that no child is a child and let's buy up as many hotels and commercial buildings as we can get our hands on, please contextualize that for us and be like, this is how it goes.
So why would you choose Scientology? Perhaps the most stigmatized religion in this country.
Well, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why, since you didn't ask the kids that were affected by this disgusting, abominable hotel experience. I will volunteer. You know, how many years later, nearly a decade later, I'll volunteer and tell you who gives a flying F, right? Why do they believe this? Because it was pitched to them, Lauren. Because it was pitched to them by somebody that purported to have certificates. Because it was pitched to them by somebody that purported to be selling a modern science of mental health. Do you not see that that was a pitch? Do you not see that these people were lured to believe? And they don't give a flying F that is stigmatized. Your stigmatization couldn't be less irrelevant. Your opinion about these depravities they're conducting inside their hotel, your opinion of what they do could not be any less irrelevant. So I think I just saved you your entire thesis of writing a book.
What do you think it does for people? That's the thing I sort of can't get to the bottom of I mean, what does it give people?
You guys, and I'm sorry, Anderson, but you playing the part that you care, and what does it give people? Because, you know, I was just asking about strangling a little while ago, but you know what? What could it possibly give somebody if they're in about strangling there? And I've spoken to the wives and I've seen how they are. You were in front of Jenny DeVocht and Ann Rathbun Cooper, two women that were, you know, top tier proteges of Dave. You won't work with that man unless you qualify to work for that man. Okay, so maybe figure out what the qualifications are and the type of people they're looking for to fill those positions at the top tier of their military cosplay hotel operation. And then tell us if you really have that question that you're just pretending to have on TV.
At the beginning level, when you go in and get auditing, which is their form of therapy, a lot of people feel like they are helped.
Okay, well, Lawrence, guess who doesn't think they were ever helped when they were being locked against their will? Guess who didn't think they were being helped when they were being asked as a minor by a self-admitted you-know-what if they've ever had sex with animals? Guess who else didn't think they were helped when as a kid we were being literally desensitized so that we were prepared for the, what was it that Monique said? The intensity of where these role plays could go. Never mind, that was no safe word, Lauren. So as much as you want to keep pitching these very helpful therapies that adult grown men and women went on the record and told you all manner of wins they were having because an indicted felon wrote rhetoric normalizing disgusting abominations, normalizing blurring all common sense boundaries between adults and kids. So maybe revise that statement in the year 2023. Maybe you could not see past that point, past ahead of your nose at that time. But nearly A decade later, the only thing you've done is literally nothing. Nothing with the story. You know, you said what you needed to say. You got your Pulitzer Prize and whatever it else that you need to have. And, you know, you got your checks. You're also cashing checks. And there's nothing wrong with cashing checks if you're doing a job. But, you know, you're going there having this opinion about the subject, and you want to tell everyone how you've investigated so thoroughly, and you missed the most important aspect of the subject, which was not why are all of these adults deluded and crazy and able to do all manner of craziness over here? What happens to the ones that are here? Maybe you can answer that. Maybe you can try.
In fact, that's what draws people in. They ask, what is ruining your life? What is your ruin? And if you say, well, it's my relationship or my profession or something, they say, well, we have something that can help you. And sometimes that's true.
And is
Again, you couldn't be more glib on the subject of how these audits take place, Lawrence Wright. So take the criticism and take the note. They ask about the ruins of their life. They're data mining the end user ad nauseum and weaponizing every last shred of data that is being exploited. Every last insecurity is being exploited. Every last traumatic experience that ever had is being exploited. Any type of leverage and compromat, like the KGB would say, felonies that they have perpetrated and self-admitted would be all weaponized against Fifth Amendment rights, mind you. But I guess that little right is something you can just wipe your you know what with, because inside those hotels, it does not matter. So try and pitch again how this is a therapy, because I would love to hear your revised answer with the 5 seconds that it's taken me to completely destroy the glib understanding that you don't seem to have over a subject that you're writing a book about.
Is recruiting celebrities going, is that because they have this celebrity center in Hollywood, was that a conscious effort by the church? And is that for PR reasons?
Oh no, Anderson, that was not a conscious effort. That's something that just happened by... You guys, going back to, and I'm going to put this corporate media on blast, and we're not backing down. Every time we keep seeing it, we're just going to keep calling it out. They do these segments and they bring it back to celebrity. Celebrity, 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 celebrity. And they're asking dumb questions that have nothing to do with getting to the facts of what matters. It's salacious gossip BS. But you sit with a suit and you sit with a tie and you sit with a studio and you're getting paid the millions to open and close your mouth. That's all we're seeing in this segment right now.
Oh, absolutely. These are product endorsements. But that's, you know, the Church of Scientology was created in Los Angeles, the Celebrity Center in Hollywood, all of it with the design to take over the entertainment industry. You know, there were people that they were actively recruiting. They were always looking for that exemplary figure that could represent Scientology, and it would be
that could represent the fraud. That could represent the fraud. Go take a look at every last... You guys, I can't believe I have to say this to these people because they should be the professionals, but every last racketeering fraud conspiracy, how are you going to pitch that if it's not being endorsed and is not being stamped of approval by people that you can purport it to be useful? Because, well, it wouldn't be bad if Tom Cruise is involved at this level, would it? I mean, it wouldn't be bad. I mean, he showed us in Eyes Wide Shut what it looks like to be part of a cult, you know, and Stanley Kubrick literally targeted him and Nicole, the two people that were known to be inside a cult, to go play his little film and play the exact roles that these people literally both played when they were inside Scientology hotels in the L Ron Hubbard twisted way, not Stanley Kubrick's way, but the L Ron Hubbard twist, which if you ask me personally, my lowly opinion of this kid that didn't even finish high school was no Pulitzer Prize or nothing. I'm just an irrelevant YouTuber person that is literally joined this community here. Literally, if you wanted to ask for my humble, ridiculous, whatever it is, opinion, I'll tell you. Role plays with children are a lot more disgusting and depraved than anything that Tom and Nicole played for everyone as acting in the Kubrick film. So there you have it.
A prominent member of the entertainment industry.
A lot of people focus on the origin myth in Scientology, or the origin story, I should say. And a lot of people make fun of it. I mean, my belief.
A lot of idiots focus on that story and that origin story, Anderson, because in case you didn't Google L Ron Hubbard being the indicted felon that he was, the runaway indicted felon that he was, he came up with that story so idiots like you could go on national TV and get confused and act all confused about, is it this? Is it a volcano? Is it this? It doesn't matter what he's calling this other thing. Get that through your thick head for a second. And again, you want to know the ire that I feel right now is because people like you that don't do a job and don't care and that just sloppily go through this like, oh, it doesn't matter because if I get this wrong, it's not like hundreds of children are going to continue suffering, right? It's just literally not going to matter if I just completely botch this whole entire job that I have as a so-called journalist. So I'm sorry, but your questions just show the glibness of the subject, how easy you are to completely misdirect, send a rabbit down that path, and you'll be chasing after it, pretending that it's something that matters. In investigations, if you really care, Anderson, you don't get distracted. When people send you distractings, you can smell that a mile away. At least that was my experience for being turned into a full-time interrogator throughout my entire formative years. I need to find out what's not making sense, and I need to find out why it's not making sense. If that's not how y'all conduct investigations, then write me a letter, CNN, and tell me how investigations should be conducted, because I would love to hear how they're supposed to be conducted, since I didn't finish high school and I have no idea. And I would love to know, because it'd be great, right, guys? Wouldn't we all love to know how investigations are supposed to be conducted? I mean, you know, asking for a friend, right?
Because every religion has an origin story, and if that's their origin story, fine. I've never really focused too much on that. I find the structure of the church interesting, though. I mean,
you just focused a whole entire talking point, so that was a lot to focus on, to be honest.
Is there any other church that you know of that's structured like it in terms of paying to kind of move up through the hierarchy of the church?
No, I don't. Nothing like that comes to mind. It's
correct, because it's a racketeering conspiracy where the courses are the most toxic thing that normalize all of the abominations. And, you know, turns out that people that pay 10 grand to go drill these disgusting scenarios we've discussed with y'all today about dolls being brought into these grooming salons to literally normalize asking a child in a locked hotel room if they've had sex with animals. It's what? Shout out to you religions that want to, you know, give us your 2 cents. If that's we have technology, but if your theology calls to do the same exact thing that the technology of the indicted runaway felon L Ron Hubbard says, we would love to hear from you.
very expensive. You know, if you want to climb, you know, if you walk into the door of Scientology today and you go all the way to the top of the pyramid, $500,000 or more just for, you get the coursework, but then you're continually asked for money.
The church is
No, Lawrence, wrong again. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Adults that are in that hotel are paying and they're loving it. They shared all your success stories. They told you how wonderful it all was. Some of them get over reg. Sure, granted, that takes place. That happens. We've already shed all the tears we had. So we have none to give that problem any relevance. And just to give you the little L Ron Hubbard investigatory technology word that's coming to mind right now, it's called an altered importance. And that's a term that maybe you and Anderson should clear together because it would help you in investigating things going forward. An altered importance is something that in the grand scheme of things is literally useless. So all of everything that is being brought up here, all these conversations you're having so intellectually with all these names and brands and corporations around you, because you're the ones that know, you're the ones that care, you're the ones that are doing the work. Well, I think this interview really does speak for itself.
is obviously very upset about the book. And would they say Mr. Wright showed the church he has no interest in the facts, only the lies and exaggerations being fed to him by angry, bitter sources with agendas based on hatred and revenge. The result is a biased work, more fiction.
Well, thank you, Church of Scientology statement, bitter sources with agendas based on hatred and revenge. The result is a biased work, more fiction than fact. Karen Powell, Church of Scientology spokeswoman. More fiction than fact is correct, Karen, because none of these two men ever made it inside the hotel. So with all the tools of investigative journalism, with all the resources available to how a journalist should investigate a subject they really do care about, to go into inside, because I couldn't agree with you more, Karen, and you couldn't have made our point any better. These two men were not in there. Now, you don't control our emotions anymore, Karen. You don't get to tell us how to feel when we see you straight up lying and not caring, having a complete altered importance moment, literally melting down as the definition of an outpoint that you are, when all of y'all inside the hotel run around believing that children are not children. Minors are not minors. 18 and unders are not that. They're adults in small bodies is what you're reframing reality with. And it could not be any more dangerous. And it's the only thing that some of us care about, to be honest.
In fact, I should say they basically said the same thing about our reporting. They published an entire magazine devoted to kind of attacking us and CNN and myself.
I got one and the New Yorker as well. But I want to just say about...
Oh, look at these two little fellas, you guys. They've been having been attacked in magazines, and we're just so perplexed what they did to us. Again, both of you go look in the mirror and ask yourselves, if I'm being treated like that by adults and I'm doing a job, what in the hell would a child in there go through? And then pitch us what it was that you cognited as a result of thinking about that. Long and hard. Don't give us any kind of glib pitch, because we're just about out of bandwidth for glib pitches.
That disclaimer from the church. First of all, you can only talk to the people that will talk to you. And I asked repeatedly to talk to upper-level executives, including David Miscavige, but not just him. And that opportunity was foreclosed to me. I spoke to more than 250 people, the majority of them current or a former Scientologist. So it's not just a small group of people. We're talking about, more than 150 people. Their stories are very damning. They're very similar in nature.
Well, thank you, Lauren. If you could just also include in your email note how many of those 250 people that you went around talking to were minors inside those hotels. That would be so helpful to understand your analysis, because perhaps none of them wanted to talk to you, and let me know if that was the case. I never got called to talk to you during that time, but I was just getting out and all. Maybe you miss me, but if you talk to more minors, it'd be great to know why you decided that was not the right importance or focus of your book. It'd be great to know that.
There's a lot of people who were formerly in the upper echelons of the church who talk about a culture of violence that they participated in. Some of them admit that they engaged in violent acts toward others in the church, but that they also point fingers at David Miscavige, the leader of the church, as
Bingo, Anderson. And going back to you, Lawrence Wright, why in the hell were you interested in talking to David Miscavige and the upper echelon and the executives and la 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 la? Like, altered importance. Why are you talking to them if you've already talked to them ad nauseum and you already have them on the record with all manner of statements they've all made about, like what Anderson is saying, everyone's just pointing the finger at one man as if that one man was capable of pulling off institutional, industrial size child trafficking inside hotels worldwide, all on his own. I mean, how obsessed is the media with David Miscavige, you guys? How obsessed are they to pin everything on him? Yeah, Hitler got away with everything that he did because he had accomplices. You can have a crazy ass idea. You can even write a book about it, but turns out that only when the book is being read by accomplices that agree with the things being pitched in a book can you get an entire group, collective of grown men and women to go perpetrate criminal activity. Right? What am I not understanding, you guys? Please, make this make sense, because I don't get it. I don't understand how these people are literally so clueless.
As somebody who would leap across desks, would hit people.
It sounds bizarre, but I had 12 people tell me that they had personally been beaten up by David Miscavige, and more than 20 witnesses to such events. And these accounts are very similar. That hair trigger response, a sudden, jumping up, strangling people, beating people out of the blue. They have no idea what they've done. And oftentimes after that, they're sent off to one of these re-education camps, sometimes for years.
Well, thank you, Lawrence. Shout out to you for yet again going into that little talking point. Re-education camps. It was just a re-education camp, Serge, where Debbie Cook had you locked up for 2 years with black mold, with carpets that were disgusting, and with a self-admitted, to be your rehabilitation, to be your re-educator. So your sanitized, ridiculous talking points could not be more ridiculous, honestly. Literally, what in the hell?
We heard Tom Cruise in the setup package saying that, he drives by an accident and he knows that he's the only one, or Scientologist is the only one who can really help. What is that idea that somehow a Scientologist can help with a road accident?
It's a laying on of hands, essentially. There's a contact assist. I was talking to Josh Brolin about this. He once witnessed John Travolta helping Marlon Brando, who had actually, it wasn't a traffic accident, but he had stopped to help a motorist on the side of the road, and he'd cut his leg. And they all show up at a dinner party. And
again, you guys, I have to just stop him here because I'm already bored of this, rote pitch about trying to explain the level of narcissism that these people are dog whistling with. So, and if that just goes over your head, then I don't know how to help you, Lawrence Wright. But as much as you're, oh yeah, because it's the contact. Tom Cruise really wants to do contact assist with people. Feel my finger. Feel my finger. Feel my finger. That's the command that they're doing to you when they're giving you an assist, you guys. So a grown man locks themselves up in a hotel room and gets told, go do a touch assist on that minor and tell her to feel my finger for hours. If you don't tell them that you are loving what the hell is going on, you're not getting out of that hotel room. So let's just put that on the record to really cut through the regurgitated talking points that have nothing to do with the reality of what it actually, where the narcissism is being, reframed, so that they really look at this like holistic angelical people that can't wait to save the next person that's literally in a car crash being told, feel my finger. Why the hell would you need someone to ask you to feel their finger if you're in a car crash? I mean, how pathetic is this, honestly?
Brolin is telling the story and using this dead-on Brando accent, but Travolta said, "I've just gotten up to a higher level in the church, and I think I can help you." And he said, "Well, you've got powers, John." And so he reached over and put his hand on Brando's leg, and he said, and Brolin said it was eerie. There was almost a physical charge between the two of them. And Brando said, "You know what? I do feel better." So who's to say? In Brando's mind, maybe he was making Travolta feel okay about himself, or maybe there was some sort of effect. But essentially, it's a mystical idea that you can lay on hands and you can make someone feel better.
The church.
Thank you, Lawrence, for that last thing you just said. Mystical idea. But you know what? You completely underestimate these people because you have no clue who you're being played by. And let me tell you exactly what that means so you don't misunderstand my tone, my anger, and the reason that I'm having to be so direct with you, because I'm just so sick of the regurgitated BS talking points at this point. If you're going to sit here and talk about this entire John Travolta thing and he thought it was feeling a finger, you're not giving them the credit they deserve. They have, in fact, gotten away with for the last 73 years to all be paid members of a hotel chain that operates recruitment missions all across the world, looking for underage kids they can bring in to this country, to America, including but not limited to Clearwater, Florida, and Los Angeles, two of their biggest centers. So it's a red issue, it's a blue issue. It's a both type of issue, with Hollywood being very involved. Literally the top of the pyramid that you just mentioned a while ago is at the very top of this thing. So let's make sure that that is very clear to you, since apparently in all the 250 grown men and women that you interviewed and whatever other minor that you could have interviewed that didn't open your mind as an investigative journalist to see, perhaps I should really pull this string because this doesn't make sense. If all these people are beating themselves up, then what's happening to a child? If all these people are normalizing to tell somebody, feel my finger, feel my finger, feel my finger, like ad nauseum, you don't have to care why an adult wants to get involved with that, but maybe you should care why they do that to the kids. Maybe the kids are the ones that need the advocate, but apparently you got sold on every last damn talking point.
Church cites huge membership, millions and millions of people Other sources say that the number is actually much smaller, in the tens of thousands, 25, 35,000, 45,000. Is membership in decline?
Yes.
So who cares? If you got 45,000, guess how many of those are minors, Anderson, since you just throw numbers at the screen like it's nothing. How many of the 45,000 are minors, Anderson? And then figure out what in the hell happens to those that have no voice, that you've given no voice, that you've literally not cared about. And what happened to those minors that were under those executives that were beating each other ad nauseum for God knows what reason?
I mean, it's hemorrhaging members.
Why?
Well, part of it, I think people are becoming aware of what's going on inside the church. Moreover, the secret doctrines of the church had kept secret for years, and now all over the internet, they're ridiculed on South Park.
Seriously, guys, this couldn't be more pathetic. You think that people are leaving in droves, Lawrence, after speaking to 250 people because somebody cares what someone on South Park is talking about? Seriously, like, you're leaving me with nothing. You're leaving me with nothing, literally.
So everybody kind of knows what the secrets are inside Scientology, and you don't have to pay $500,000 to learn them.
Well, that wasn't what it was all about, was it, Lawrence? Were these people really interested in secrets, or were these people really interested in access? Were these people really interested in freedom and raising their consciousness, or were these people being given a way to pay, including but not limited to $500 an hour to lock themselves up in that hotel with a minor such as myself, Natalie Galviati, Iride, Danya, Sherry? I'll come up with a full list, you guys, of all the minors that were being trained as auditors, because you know what? Those are the ones that are contacting me now. So there's plenty of those. There's plenty of those examples out there. But do you think that any journalist has ever gone to them and has asked them what in the hell they were doing in that hotel? No.
It's a fascinating book. Thank you so much, Lawrence.
It's always a pleasure.
That is the end of the segment, you guys. I've spoken a lot. I've said a lot. And I think this segment literally speaks for itself. But you guys let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. If you think that I'm being too hard on Lawrence Wright for not doing a job as an investigative journalist, well, you know what? When you don't do your job as an investigative journalist in our specific situation, Lawrence, before you take this personal or before you run with any type of whatever, just know that we deeply care about the way that the facts have been turned on their back. And the reason that that matters is every last goddamn child in that hotel has been told and made to believe by everyone around them that what happened in that hotel was just a jolly old time. And what the hell are you complaining about? You're in America, where we have a supermarket of crazy, deranged beliefs that any all adult can adopt and run with, as long as they call it ecclesiastical. So either we all agree that there's laws on the books that are supposed to curtail criminal conspiracies and racketeering, child trafficking conspiracies, or we decide that if you want to run a very good child trafficking racketeering conspiracy, then just call up any old lawyer that will pitch you to the IRS as such, so you can properly insulate yourself from liability. And since the law is about everyone being treated equally, Ghislaine Maxwell should reach out to Monique Yingling from jail as she sits there and rots. Keith Raniere can also call up Monique Yingling and see if she can just, convince her buddies at the DOJ, the IRS, and wherever the hell that woman has friends to, pitch them that Jeffrey Epstein actually wrote a book where these massages were for religious experiences that they were going to have at their Palm Beach manor. And that, why is everyone upset? Right? Isn't that equal treatment under the law? And, Keith Raniere, well, who cares? Keith could have done whatever, sold courses, done whatever. Everybody was worshiping him a la L Ron Hubbard, since that's where he was stealing all his ideas. But the idiot didn't steal the idea of calling up Monique Yingling. That's where the only thing Keith Raniere did wrong was not call up Monique Yingling. Literally. So the law could not be more toothless in this country and could not be more lopsided to help criminal conspiracies and muscle every last kid that is going to be the direct victim of said criminal conspiracy. I deeply appreciate your support and your engagement as we go into these very dark realities that are really contextualizing unthinkable abuse and manipulation of minors. Your presence is making all the difference in the world, because day by day, we continue growing our voice, growing our message of being completely over being played with and being manipulated by all the institutions and corporations that think that they can continue to do that, even though we're now full-grown adults. I appreciate you. Thank you for holding this space. Thank you for being interested in the unadulterated context, which isn't easy to hear or digest, but we got to call it out. We have to hold these corporations, these multi-million-dollar corporations, accountable for their utterly abysmal reporting on a subject that, due to their reckless negligence, is still a problem to every last child stuck inside the hotel. Thank you.